Joining me right now is South Carolina Senator Tim Scott. He's the ranking member of the Senate Banking Committee and member of the Senate Foreign Relations and Small Business Committees. Senator, it's great to see you this morning. Thanks so much for being here.
Good morning.
What can you tell us about?
Very good to see you again.
What can you tell us about the macro story right now and the economy that is being questioned as the Federal Reserve raised interest rates again yesterday, and there are worries out there about failures in more banks?
Yeah, no question. When you look at the Biden economy, if you wanted to create a blueprint to ruin America, you would do what the radical left is doing to our country right now. In the last 2 years, we've seen 13.5% inflation, 40% increase in gas, 20% increase in food, 20% increase in electricity. So what does the Federal Reserve do to combat inflation? 9 consistent and consecutive rate increases. It's like using a hammer when you wish you had a scalpel. The Biden economy is destroying American families' economic future every single day. Having been raised by a single mom, Maria, I will tell you this, that when gas goes up 40%, it's not a problem. It's a crisis. For senior citizens on a fixed income, this is one of the greatest challenging times they've ever seen. And when you think about the banking system and a new bailout, it causes you to question where we are as a country. The Biden leadership has been terrible, and it is getting worse by the day. He cannot handle problems. That's part of the challenge that we face today, is he has no ability to understand the private sector, the greatest economic system the world has ever known. He has no clue on how to help us out.
Senator, what can you do about it? You're an elected official. Do you have a plan to get us out of this? I mean, whether it's the economy, foreign policy, our adversaries dominating and gaining an edge, a wide open border. The Department of Homeland Security seized 900 pounds of fentanyl in just a week at the southern border. Your fellow South Carolina Senator Lindsey Graham asked Anthony Blinken about that and the drug cartels this week as well. But I want to get your take on fixing things. What's your solution?
Well, strong leadership is the simplest and shortest answer. Let me give you a couple of examples. I have legislation that will come out tomorrow or Monday that would stop the flow of fentanyl by targeting the Mexican cartels. You have to hit them where it hurts the most. It's in their pocketbooks. It's in their bank accounts. So we should use our resources as a government to attack those challenges that we face. Another simple solution that the Biden administration refuses to take seriously is closing our southern border. This is what we call common sense in South Carolina. The truth is we have unsafe, wide open, and insecure borders leading to 70,000 Americans killed by fentanyl, including a friend of mine whose son at 27 years old died last month. We should take this seriously. The weakness of the president is showing up in all forms and in all spaces around the world. If you do not have a strong, positive, powerful president, the world takes for granted that we are weak. When that happens, you see Putin doing what he did in 2014 under President Obama, incursions into Ukraine. You see the weaponizing by China of TikTok. You see breaches on our southern border, on our sovereign borders through a balloon. You see IP theft. You see the Made in China 2025 plan coming more and more to fruition. What does that mean? They steal our intellectual properties to accelerate their economy and make us more dependent. A strong president stands in the gap and makes sure our vital interests are taken care of. We close our border. We stop spending money. $4 trillion less of spending means inflation comes down, interest rates come down, and Americans get to keep more of their hard-earned money. And you make the tax cuts that we did in 2017 on the personal side, you make them permanent. That's a $2 trillion plus help to the American people.
Well, look, you're talking about leadership to take us out of this mess. Are you that person? Are you running for president?
Well, I'm on my Faith in America tour. I am having a great time talking to the American people about positive, optimistic, but anchored in conservatism, leadership, and proposals. So I think the mission is more important than the position. I need to hear from the American people. I'm hearing from them, and I'm going to continue to listen.
Lee Carter.
So we know that Americans' #1 concern right now is the economy. After everything that's happened with the banking crisis, Joe Biden went out there and he said, it's contained, everything's going to be fine. But my predecessor rolled back all this regulation. We need more regulation, which I think led to more uncertainty. So people are wondering what's going to happen.
Well, he's blaming Trump again.
He's blaming Trump again. And so how do you reassure folks right now?
Well, Maria, the fact of the matter is that's a red herring. The Dodd-Frank proposal that passed in 2018 was 63 votes, which means we had 17 Democrats supported it. But when you read the legislation itself, what you'll see very clearly is that the regulators for banks over $100 billion had all the power, the supervision they needed. They simply fell asleep at the wheel. They literally cannot tell us the last time that bank had supervisors in it. We've asked that question. I've asked that question to the heads of the three-letter agencies, and no one can answer simple questions. So the regulatory failure is a challenge. We do have a strong, resilient system, but today there are questions simply because the Biden economy plus the Biden regulators leads to failures in the system.
Yeah, but there's also all this misinformation. I mean, you know, he tells us it's red when it's blue. He tells us that it's raining when it's sunny. I mean, it's just incredible the amount of misinformation coming out of this White House. Is there anything you can do to make sure we've got honesty here? You know, he says the economy is doing great. He says America's doing great. We see what's happening with China and Russia. We see how China is dominating the United States. What can be done about it?
Well, simply, I love the things that you've just brought up. Let's add to that list of things that are not true. The border is secure, according to the vice president and the president. Frankly, it'd be nice if they would, A, visit the border more than a flyby, B, go to East Palestine to understand the crisis within the country, and C, go to a microphone and reassure Americans by talking about the things that you did wrong and figuring out how to get them right. As an example, the first piece of legislation that they passed, a $1.9 trillion COVID relief package, the only thing missing was COVID relief. Less than 1% for vaccines, less than 10% for health care, but $1.7 trillion to catch our economy on fire, and not in a positive way, leading to historic 40-year high in inflation. So what you have to do is exactly what the Biden administration has done. Just do the exact opposite.
Yeah,
if you don't spend what you don't have, don't buy what you can't afford, things get better. This is kind of simple.
Senator, it's great to have you this morning. Thanks so much. We'll be watching your leadership. Senator Tim Scott.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, sir. Don't miss my